welcome back. So last time we modified our enemy controller to enable our enemies to walk around in the scene, but currently they all start in the same way. That's because we set the direction switch to be false by default, and they will all start going to the left, and then they will go to the right once the direction switch has been restarted. This is really easy to fix. Basically, we can simply say that this direction switch boolean is a public boolean, and then when the game starts, we don't want to set it to false. So let's remove that line. And now if I save this and back into Unity, you can now see that my invaders enemy controller script has this direction switch toggle here. And basically I can, by default it's set to false, but I can set it to true. And now you'll see that this pink one will start going to the right, and as you just saw, he does walk to the right. Also, now we need to give our enemies some kind of health so we can actually kill them with our bullets. So let's go ahead back to our enemy controller and let's get a public int called health or HP, hit points, whatever you want. I'll call it hit points. And we need to make sure that our friendly bullet is tagged friendly bullet, okay, and it is okay. It doesn't have to be a trigger, but actually we can set it as a trigger. Let's set the friendly bullet to is trigger, and now let's go back to our enemy controller, and I'm just going to drop down the update the movement and the switch timer method since we won't be needing them now. And I'm going to create a method to check for collision. So let's go ahead and say void on trigger enter collider, and now you can name this however you like. I like to say call as in collider, and basically this variable here holds all the information of the game object that we're colliding with. And now we want to check if that game object is in fact the friendly bullet. So let's say if collision.gameObject.tag is equal to, and let me just make sure that I get this right, so it's friendly bullet. I'm just going to copy this name since the name and the tag are the same in this case. So basically, if the game object that we're colliding is the friendly bullet, we want to open up curly brackets and then do some code here. What I want to do when the bullet hits me is, first thing, hit points, decrease them by 1, so the enemy ship takes 1 damage, okay. But also we want to create a particle effect, so let's go ahead and get a public game object particle effect. So now our invaders will have a particle effect here, and let me just get the friendly particle effect in here, okay. And I'm just going to instantiate it once it hits me. Instantiate particle effect at the location transform the position, and with your rotation transform that rotate. Whoops, rotation. Hello. Okay. So now we decrease the health, and if our hit points are less than or equal to 0, we want to destroy. And the game object that we want to destroy is this game object. So let's go ahead and say game object. And also we want to destroy the bullet that hit us, because we don't want it to destroy the ship and pass through it. That's kind of overpowered. So before we create the particle effect, let's go ahead and again say destroy, but instead of saying game object, we're going to say collision.gameObject, which is referring to the game object that we are currently colliding with, which is going to be the friendly bullet. Okay, so let's save this, and now we can go back, and you can see our invaders now have a health hit points here. We can set this to maybe 2 for the purple one, let's say 3 for the green one, and 5 for the third one. And let's go ahead and check out if this works. Yes, it does. You can see I can hit him. Let me just set his speed to 0 so he doesn't move, so you can see that it's working properly. You can see it hits him, and again, and he explodes. Okay. It also works on of course, on all invaders, except this one has more health. And also you can see he collided with us, and he just stopped. He didn't take damage, and we as well didn't take damage. So let's go ahead and fix that. We don't want him to just collide with us without anything happening. Select our player character and tag him as player. And let's go ahead in here and say, let's select our invaders and make sure that the box collider is a trigger, so they can pass through each other. That's okay. And let's go ahead and say, if the game object that we're colliding with is player. Now let me check if our player has health. He doesn't have health yet, so let's go ahead and create a public int HP, hit points. So now we want to decrease the hit points of our player. So let's go ahead and say collision.gameObject.getComponent. We need to get the player character script, that component from our player. And now that we had that component, we want to get the hit points integer and decrease it by 1. And we also want our the health of the ship to decrease by 1. You don't have to do this, but I always found it unfair when I hit an enemy, I get damaged, he doesn't. So in my games, I usually make sure that we both get damaged. It's kind of fair. Okay, now we have health. Now we decrease our health, and let's just check if our health is less than or equal to 0, and if it is, we destroy ourselves. Now we won't be also let's create that particle, why not? Also, we won't be destroying the player in this script. We will be destroying him in his script. He will have a check for health. We didn't implement that previously, but let's go ahead and do that now. So now he has health, and we can basically do it, let's say in the well, we can do it in the update method. We can just say if HP is less than or equal to 0, we can just destroy game object. We can make this prettier later, but for now this should work pretty fine. Let's go ahead and check our game. So now if I run, and if, oops, I died because my health is 0. I forgot to change the variable here, so let's go ahead and set it to 1. So one hit of these guys is going to kill me, and it does. It killed me, and it decreased the health of Invader 2. You can see his health is now 2, and if I stop playing, it's 3. So that's working perfectly. Okay, so that's going to be it for this lecture. Next time we will be creating random spawning for these enemies. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you then.